Hey class, it's Ashley, and I'm back with another mentoring moment. And the name of the game today is sustainability. How can you build a sustainable career to ride the tide of this tightening labor market and the looming recession to make sure that you still have a job that feels valuable and where you're being paid well when it's over? I know that most of the time I'm talking about how to find a new job, how to secure a new job, how to be successful in job interviews, how to make sure that you're negotiating well when you're getting in front of an employer to find and secure a new role. But I also think that there is so much value, particularly in today's tightening and challenging and often competitive labor market, to think about how you can grow and build sustainability in your current career. And that doesn't mean that you can't make more money, that you can't secure a higher level role, but there is value in making sure that you're building a sustainable career that isn't so severely moved every time there's a change in the labor market, every time there's a change in the economy, or every time your job decides that they're going to go on a hiring freeze or start laying people off. You want to make sure that you are building some stability in your career. And a lot of that comes from having sustainability practices in your career as a professional. And so in today's conversation, I'm going to talk about 3 strategies to build a sustainable career, right? And I asked my audience, what are you focused on right now in your career? Are you focused on job searching? Are you focused on finding and securing a new job? Or are you more focused in growing in your current organization? And I was surprised to learn that a lot of you are really focused on growing in your current organization, right? You're not thinking a lot about a job search. Maybe you just started a new job or you've started one over the last year, and you're not thinking a lot about finding a new job. You're trying to think about, how can I build sustainability? How can I build success? How can I build some stability in my current organization? And so, I, as a career coach, want to make sure that the strategies that I'm teaching are comprehensive, that we're talking about all the phases of career development, not just about how to find and secure a new job, but also how to build some sustainability in your current career so that you're not burnt out, so that you're not overwhelmed, and so that you're not looking for a new job every, 3 to 6 months, right? We want to start to build some sustainability. And so in today's conversation, I'm going to talk about sort of what one of the factors that builds some instability in career, right? One of the things that often has high achieving professional women feeling really unstable in their careers, and how to combat that through some specific strategies. Let's dive into this conversation. So I think one of the most uncomfortable things in the world of career, one of the things that can really kind of throw you for a loop when it comes to your career development, is if your organization changes something drastically. And right now, a lot of companies, a lot of tech companies, a lot of education companies are seeing layoffs and hiring freezes. This is similar to what we were experiencing at the height of the pandemic, right? March 2020, April, May, June, we were seeing lots of layoffs. We were seeing lots of layoffs. We were seeing lots of hiring freezes. We were seeing some, people asking people to take sabbaticals, things like that. So, I think that we're starting to see that again, right? We're starting to see this same space where folks are and companies were we need to reduce expenses. We need to reduce labor. And so you're seeing some hiring freezes. You're starting to see some layoffs. This is particularly happening in the tech space. This is particularly happening in education and some human service organizations. We're starting to see a chilling effect in the labor market. And let me know, just throw some hearts up on the screen if you're experiencing this too. If you have seen your company say, oh, we're going to do a hiring freeze, or, oh, we're expecting some layoffs, or, oh, you need to be more careful about using professional development funds, or, oh, we can't buy this or that because we need to watch our spending, right? If you're starting to see that in your organization, just know that your organization is not alone. There are lots of organizations, institutions, government entities, private organizations that are starting to just slow down on hiring, slow down on spendings, slow down on developing new ideas because there's this looming recession that's kind of like in the water and everybody's kind of trying to be more strategic, right? And so as a career coach, when I see that happening in the labor market, that's a sign to me that I need to be talking to my mentees. I need to be talking to professional women about how to build some sustainability in your career. And I think that, when times are good, we're at work and we're putting our head down and we're doing our best at work. And, we just know that the raise and the promotion, that it's coming, that our annual review is going to be the time when we see a 3%, 5%, 7% salary increase. We just kind of assume that that's coming. But in a tightening labor market, like we're seeing right now, where unemployment is down, right? Unemployment is down significantly. We're seeing, lots of people, over the last 6 months, lots of people were going into jobs. There's the very low unemployment. And if you are trying to, find a new job in this tightening labor market, it's more and more challenging, right? And so we want to shift our focus less to trying to find and secure a new job to maybe building some sustainability and some growth in our current organization. And this is particularly true if you're a woman who, you enjoy your work, maybe you enjoy the organization you work for, you feel like there is some stability in your current organization. You don't necessarily have to jump ship. You don't have to go find a new job. You don't have to completely transition industries. Obviously, as a career coach, I support women doing that. If you need support in that, I'm here to serve you. But there's also an opportunity for you to build some stability and some sustainability in your current organization, in your current career. You may be able to move up in your current organization. You may be able to secure a salary increase in your current organization without having to transition industries, without having to find a new job. You can actually earn more money and have more impact in your current organization. And I think that one of the places where I see a lot of instability in the labor market is around hiring freezes. My own organization just instituted a hiring freeze. And so, when you hear that, right, when an organization institutes a hiring freeze or they're talking about layoffs, you can start to panic. You can start to feel overwhelmed. You can start to feel really stressed out about that. It's like, oh my gosh, this organization is, unstable. They're not hiring anybody else. They're laying everybody off. Like, am I next? You start to feel really insecure. You start to feel really stressed. You start to panic, right? And those are normal human emotions, right? I'm not saying don't feel stressed. Everything's going to be okay. No, I'm saying like that feeling of like panic and overwhelm when your organization starts to say, you know what, we're doing a hiring freeze, or we're laying people off, or, we want you to be more prudent about your spending, in your departments. Like that induces a lot of stress, and that stress is normal, right? Like that's a normal human emotion. However, I want to make sure that we're not just like stressing out and not using our sort of vision and our futuristic thinking to think about how we can leverage a hiring freeze, how we can leverage layoffs, how we can leverage that to make sure that we're protected from that and we're building some sustainability in our career so that we can avoid the negative impacts of layoffs or hiring freezes for ourselves, right? And for our teams. And so let's dive into these three strategies. So strategy number one, if your organization is currently planning a layoff or planning a hiring freeze, or you're experiencing that right now in your organization, the number one thing that you want to be thinking about is how you can assess the gaps, right? And I have some notes over here that I've taken, so I'll be referring to these on my screen. But you want to assess the gaps, because anytime an organization is saying, hey, we're pausing on hiring right now, or hey, we're going to have to lay a sector of our employees off, or hey, I need you to reduce spending in your unit by 3%, right? If your organization is saying this, if you work in an organization where you're seeing this happening, then it's likely that there are things that are going to be left undone in the organization, right? If they're instituting a hiring freeze, or they're saying we need to reduce spending in certain categories, that means that they're saying, hey, we need to take a pause on doing things that are important to our organization, are central to our mission, our vision, our values, and our purpose, but we need to take a pause on them because we actually don't have the capacity to spend in those areas at this time, right? And, honestly, from a employer position, like that's a good thing. Like the employer should be thinking about, what do we need to reduce spending on? What do we need to pause on? What do we need to be more strategic about so that the whole company doesn't go belly up and close, right? And I know that sometimes as an individual employee, you're like, this company is huge. They got all these things. They're doing all these things. There's no way that we're going to like belly up and close. There's no way that they can just reduce spending like this without covering the basics. But the truth is that every every organization, every company has to be able to, cover the bottom line. And so sometimes they have to go on a hiring freeze. They have to do layoffs. They have to reduce spending in certain categories just so they can like stem the tide, right? And so if that's what's happening in your organization, that means that there are likely things that they want to do, likely projects that they want to keep up, likely people that they want to hire, things that the organization wants to do that they're going to have to take a pause on for some time. So you should know about those gaps, right? You should be assessing those gaps. You should be thinking about what those gaps are in the organization. And let me give you an example. So let's say that the organization goes on a hiring freeze. Like let's say they do that. Like let's say your organization institutes a hiring freeze. And at the time there were positions that were around training and development that were unfilled, right? There are positions in training and development or onboarding new employees that just go unfilled because there was no one to fill those positions at the time, right? So if you assess that that's happening in your organization and you have skills related to training and onboarding in your organization, you should be assessing that, oh, there's a gap in training and development. Oh, there's a gap in onboarding new employees. Oh, there's a gap in orienting new staff, right? And just because there's a hiring freeze doesn't mean that there aren't new staff who joined the organization right before the hiring freeze that now can't get trained, can't get onboarded, can't, do their work well because there's nobody to like onboard them and train them in that space, right? And so if you recognize that strategy number one is to assess the gaps, understand what the gaps are, understand where there's a impasse in the work. So let me give you another example. That was an example from HR. Let's say you work in a, tech company, right? Maybe you work in software and, there's a part of the organization that onboards new software, right? There's new software coming online, but there's nobody to work on the, project management of the new software, right? There's nobody to manage the, implementation of the software. There's nobody to manage the software budget. There's no one to, help end users implement the software on the back end, right? So that's a gap. That's a gap in the organization that now that there's a hiring freeze, now that there's been layoffs, there's no one to really take on and focus on that work. And so you want to be able to know what that gap is. You want to say, wow, like we have gone on a hiring freeze and now there's no one to manage the projects related to implementing new software. So then once you assess the gaps, once you recognize like, oh, our organization is going to have a real gap here, or oh, our organization is going to need some support here, then you can start to take inventory of your own capacity as an employee in the organization. So for example, when you recognize those gaps, you might say, you know what, like I'm recognizing the organization is going to have some gaps around training and onboarding new employees, or, oh, I'm recognizing that the organization is going to have some gaps around project management. And you can start to think about, what's my current capacity for taking on new projects? What's my current capacity for taking on a new workload? What's my current capacity for supporting the organization given the gaps that I've recognized, right? And it's important to assess your capacity because I think sometimes, we have such affinities for our organizations. Many of us work in education or human service or government, and right, we really believe in the mission, the vision, the values of our organizations. We believe in the work. And so we are quick to raise our hand and say, hey, I can help out in this area. Hey, I can, add value in this area. Hey, I have a background in this. I can fill in the gap. And that's a good thing. Like our human nature to want to help, to want to serve, to want to fill in the gaps in our organization. That's a good thing. And we want to make sure that we're not raising our hand and saying, hey, yeah, I can help here. Hey, I can fill in the gap. Hey, I can do more here. And like overwhelming ourselves in our current capacity, right? So we want to be careful that, yes, like we want to assess the gaps and we want to know what the gaps are, but that doesn't mean that we automatically should be responsible for filling the gaps and jumping in and doing extra work without being really thoughtful about what our current capacity is, right? Because the name of the game is to build sustainability in our career, to build a sustainable career and to build a successful career. And if we're burnt out, overworked, underpaid, and overwhelmed in our role because we keep raising our hand to fill all of the gaps, then that's not building a sustainable career, right? And often that can lead to issues of performance, right? Like if we're raising our hand and saying we can do everything, and then we're dropping the ball on projects because we overextended ourselves. Now there's a performance issue, with us that our organization might have to deal with. So we want to be really careful to assess our capacity. But maybe you do have 10% capacity, maybe or 10% space in your capacity levels, or maybe you do have the capacity to do an extra 20% of work, right? You want to know that, and if you can add to your workload and still perform at a high level, there's an opportunity for you to take advantage of a layoff, for you to take advantage of a hiring freeze to actually make more money and have more impact, and maybe even secure a higher level role in your organization. And that takes us to step number 3. So step number 3 is to make the ask. So while your organization may not be hiring anymore, there may be an opportunity for you to fill in the gap and see a 10% salary increase or see a higher level interim role while they're on this hiring freeze or while they're working through layoffs, right? And so there's an opportunity for you to make that ask to say, hey, I recognize our organization hasn't been able to hire a new training and onboarding professional. I know that there's a gap there. I have a background in training and development or training and onboarding new staff, and I can serve and fill in the gap during our hiring freeze for a 15% salary increase on my base salary, right? And you can simply make that ask. Maybe you have a background in project management. Maybe you've been managing projects without the title for a long time. And now that they can't hire new project managers, you can walk in and say, hey, I have the capacity to be able to take on 2 projects over the next 6 months. With a 20% salary increase on my base salary, I'll be able to take on those projects and complete them, address them to completion, with a 20% salary increase and an interim title as a interim project manager over the next 6 months, right? And so there's an opportunity for you to make the ask and benefit, with a salary increase or an interim higher level title for a short time, but also to be able to give back to the organization and to be able to position yourself as a valued asset even when the organization is going through challenging times. Those three strategies, being able to assess the gaps, being able to assess your own capacity, and then to be able to make the ask, those 3 strategies alone can help you build a sustainable career. One where you're not job hopping from, job to job, one where you're able to sustain a challenging labor market or layoffs or hiring freezes, and one where you can still build a career that you're proud of that doesn't require you to find a new job, to, jump to the next industry, but to be able to build a career that you're proud of in your current organization or even in your same industry without having to jump ship. And so, I think it's so critically important to not just be thinking about how to grow in your career or how to skyrocket in your career, but how to take incremental steps in your career over time to really build a sustainable career that you're proud of. If you feel like you would benefit from customized career development strategies around building a sustainable career, then I invite you to schedule a call with me. I'm accepting new mentees right now, and I'm excited to work with women who, want to have a long-term strategy in their career, right? That it's not just about finding the next job or getting a salary increase, but it's about building sustainability in your career to see growth over time so that your career and your salary increases aren't just a flash in the pan, but that you're actually seeing sustainable growth and sustainable success in your career over time. So if that's something that you would benefit from, I'm accepting new mentees, and I invite you to schedule a call with me so we can get you onboarded. You can schedule that call right on my website at mentor-me.org. That's mentor-me.org. I'm accepting new mentees right now, and I'm really excited to serve you, excited to help you build some sustainability in your career and also center your career for career success. I know for a lot of you, maybe you feel a little burnt out in your career, you feel a little underwhelmed in your career, you don't really feel like you're driving impact or you're driving change in your career, but that impact and that change is available to you, but it will require a strategy, right? It will require some strategy. And so I'm here to support you in building a customized career development plan that's specifically for you and building strategy that truly works. You can go ahead to my website right now to schedule our call. I have availability today on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week. So go ahead ahead and make sure you schedule that call. You can do so right on my website at mentor-me.org. That's mentor-me.org. I look forward to serving you. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.